Hello, everyone. You're welcome to our Thursday afternoon conversation. Most of the time, we're talking about science or we're speaking with athletes and teams, but this time we thought it'd be a really good opportunity to talk about a little bit about what's been going on behind the scenes in Davy Nutrition over the past couple of weeks because it's been really busy and it's been a fascinating, as we're coming towards the end of the year, it's been a really fascinating phase for us. And parts of it have actually felt quite emotional because of some of the results and some of the feedback that we've got, particularly through our flagship Empower program. And what I wanted to talk to the team about today is how we've gotten to that end point where we feel now we're really effective in how we help people achieve their goals. And that has been something that has taken hours and hours and lots of different thoughts and research and communication, but what the process has been to get to that point. So we started, I would say it's more than 18 months ago, maybe even closer to 2 years ago, about the idea of creating a course that would not only help people achieve a goal like performance or fat loss, but sustain it by having a real good clarity around the process and the actions that lead to getting results. And this is our fifth one, and we feel it's been our most successful. But if I was to go right back to the beginning of the evolution of the Empower program, what do you think some of the early challenges were, or what do you remember of the conversation, Gemma?
I remember when I first joined the Davy Nutrition team, it was something that I was coming into the middle of the conversations about it starting, and it was all about how can we make it clear for someone to go through a process and break things down and to making it trying to make it really simple for them to just focus on the key areas one at a time, and that was, I suppose, the initial path that we were looking to build. And that just became more and more apparent of how important it was to make it really clear and make help people feel like there's so much more to health and any goal that you have than just sometimes what they might think, especially around nutrition when it can sometimes be isolated. So I think the more, over the past 2 years of developing this program, it's we now kind of have a process in place where we can help people feel like it's a lot more simple when they do break it down into small chunks and just make it a lot more clear each step of the way. But yeah, this is definitely the first time where we've seen that from start to finish, where we've got the feedback now to kind of show how good this process is, and from the development of where it was 2 years ago to where it is now is yeah.
Because the format actually hasn't changed that
No.
much. We're still doing one-to-ones, we're still doing workshops, people are still working through information, but people constantly looked for more clarity in the program. And we thought we were being clear in those
Was
first
in our heads anyway.
programs. In our heads, we thought we were being clear. It really showed how much time and effort is required and how many layers there are to clarity.
I think showing that in different ways as well, because this time we had it through visual, like graphics, to show the outline of the journey. It was described through video format. Then we had our initial workshops to really solidify it, and we had our one-to-ones with each individual. So I think there was multiple layers to show what this process is all about, and I think it's really come together this time, and that's why we've got the results we've got through this one.
Eva, we had quite a number of conversations at different stages about. I'm, we're not going to talk about individual clients here, but a lot of people did come with significant stress, and things that were happening in life for them where they felt it was really, really challenging for them to focus on themselves and to create time for their health. Can you describe how that felt for you and what some of the key things were for you to help people break it down or become that little bit easier to see that bit of, right, okay, if I do this, I'll get some success or I will make a bit of progress?
Yeah, there was a lot of conversations that went down that road. It's for us, I think sometimes we can take a lot of that on board, but I think this time, even just from the previous Empower programs, we recognize how much that we can actually help these people, and we just get so much back from that. Um, I think for a lot of people, when they're struggling with maybe even different aspects of their life, they feel like maybe if they fix their nutrition, everything else will be solved. And for us, I think it's like reinstilling confidence in them that they actually have the ability to do that. It can just start in small steps and recognizing kind of what are the small things that they do for themselves on a daily basis, and recognizing that whenever they don't have their daily actions to make themselves feel good, their nutrition usually drops off, and that kind of then it's a little bit of a hamster wheel. So I think we meet them where they are, recognize, okay, what haven't they been doing in the past several weeks or months or years to make them feel good? And their nutrition is obviously a massive aspect of that. But there's so many other avenues that you have to look down, even around their sleep, around their movement, around how they talk to themselves. And I think for us, having that journey for them, and for them knowing that they will get to each important aspect at some point, that we don't have to do everything at once. I think that has been the biggest thing for us, even through this Empower program, that stick to the process, as we'll talk about probably, they're non-negotiables, and for each step of the way, just being kind to themselves and recognizing where they are and where they want to get to.
Yeah, really good. And there's a good few things that we do need to go back on there. You mentioned non-negotiables, but you also talked about people coming with the nutrition problem, but not being able to see that sometimes there was a lot of things stemming from some other aspects of their life. When we think about the actual format of the program, what do you think was what do you think was the biggest things that progressed the program this time? We had all of these elements before, and we build this around the pillars of performance, like you mentioned there, Eva, in stress management, in sleep, in understanding movement. But what was different about this program?
I think we say it for each program, but I think the feedback that we've got on the previous Empower program have really, really stood to us. And I think the format changed a little bit, that it was kind of easier to go through, and people felt like they were going through it in a real step by step, phase by phase journey approach. We were very confident that all the information was within the course, and whenever we are having our consultations with the clients, it's really focusing on what their current challenges are and setting them up for success. And they knew exactly what needed to be done today, this week, next month. And for them, it was very clear.
You need a booster. Put something under your seat there, a boost. We'll wait for you to stabilise there, Eva, and we'll come back to you.
Right.
Gemma, Gemma, we have talked so much about measurement. And even though we've put so much emphasis on measurement of everything from habits to results and what people want to achieve, I think there's been a lot of layers to that as well. You've done quite a bit of work on measurement and the subjective aspects of what we do. Talk us through a little bit of how that's progressed in this Empower.
I know it was always something that we wanted to create, was to help someone visualize their actions and the impact that had on, like Eva said before, how they felt, rather than just focusing on something like numbers on a scale, which is usually the approach that many people take for a fat loss goal. So I suppose we wanted to not just collect that data, but also just try and represent it in a way that they could see that, okay, I haven't done certain things that are allowing me to feel a certain way that's going to help me improve, whether it's energy levels, just being able to look at what way did my sleep look this week, and how has that impacted my energy levels.
Well, I think the biggest thing was how you linked the planning aspect of your nutrition to your energy levels, and how all of these subjective measures combined relay back to how you feel. And if you can get those actions right, you feel better and you can build a whole different level of consistency into your lifestyle, which
Yeah.
the outcome of that is you starting to see those improvements. You're starting to see that things are progressing. But I keep using my phrases that we're not robots. We don't have an on button and an off button, and we don't have a program to press to lose weight at a certain trajectory or put on weight at a certain trajectory. And recognizing that is something that takes considerable amount of time. And that was another part that I really wanted to talk about, is throughout this program, I feel like people have been a lot more open. We've had that community aspect, and we've learned an awful lot from people sharing around the value of, I'm not alone in this, and that other people struggle, and I'm not unique, and this challenge is not unique.
For sure. Even just going back to that point, I think for what people were finding about those actions was the bonus at the end was the fat loss, rather than they're so solely focused on that, and if they don't get it, then they're disappointed in what they've done all this week. So even at the end of some week, if some people had very minimal fat loss, or they dropped what they wanted to, they recognized it was all of these actions that made that happen, rather than, okay, I just need to cut out more food if that's not happening. It was every single thing that compiled on top of each other that got that bonus at the end.
And I remember reading one of the feedback, and it was saying that there was a period of time where the scale wasn't coming down, and for her that was a light bulb moment, because previously it would have gone up. So that was her new kind of progress, was actually the scale not moving. So I thought that was really interesting to just read someone's experience of exactly that. That there's a different way to view this when you compare previous attempts to a new approach now, and just knowing that it's the actual actions that you're looking at around, and just knowing what you need to do to kind of keep things either progressing, or just knowing what maintenance feels like.
When we think about the progress that when we think about the progress that so many people have had without tracking, what do you think it is that allows people to make that, to to achieve that? Because so many people wonder,
For a
how
lot,
can you lose weight without tracking and know your calories?
I think for a lot of people, it was actually getting that process and structure and consistency into their days and their weeks, rather than tracking for a short period of time, hating it, hating the process, and then just going back to their usual routine. So I think from even building in that structure and process day to day, and enjoying the meals, and enjoying what that felt like for themselves, but their family around them, and feeling the benefits of that, that drives consistency. So I think that has been a massive factor.
And I think even just feeling more connected to what they're actually doing, and having a bit more awareness themselves, rather than feeling like they're guided by numbers alone, not really knowing how that's impacting how they're feeling from their energy levels or even hunger, but they're much more aware of how the things that they're doing and how that's making them feel. And looking at, when you've got that routine consistency, you can compare that each week.
For
What are the
example,
big...
like, oh,
No,
sorry.
sorry, Eva, please go ahead.
I was just saying that one of for one of the Empower clients, 8 weeks has dropped over 8 kilos with not tracking. Like, that's absolutely phenomenal. And it's not that they had a massive amount to lose in the first place. We're not seeing someone that was extremely overweight. This is someone that just wanted to get down to a couple of kilos, and by previous attempts from tracking and it hadn't worked, seeing that is the biggest win for us, that while sticking to the process and doing that consistently, you can go on leaps and bounds while enjoying the process.
What do you think we've learned from this Empower? Because I feel like we have learned, that there's certain things are weighted much more highly than we realized. Like previously, the emphasis on certain information, but I'll leave that question open, and I suppose I'll give my own insights myself then.
Feedback. I wasn't even sharing half the stuff I wanted to share in the group chat because I knew you would slag me. But some of the feedback was just simple sharing of ideas in the group chat, and I feel like the support that we had in that, not just from us but also from the rest of the members together sharing their insights, came up a lot in the feedback. Just knowing that people were sharing things that they were struggling with, and even just simply saying that, help them to recognize that they're not the only person that's struggling with, busy lifestyle. And I think that really helped to drop the penny for a lot of people to realize that, this is life, and we do have to just come up with some strategies around how we're going to manage these difficult times, and it's not always going to look the same. And it's just about looking at what's the best thing that we can do for the situation, and then it'll look different in another day, in another week.
What did you learn, Eva?
I think the support, the group chat as well, from, I think it's just that constant little nudge or reminder that, oh yeah, I'm actually in this process again. Because I know for some people, they utilize it at 100%, and for others, they might not have engaged within, I mean, putting anything within the group, but from the conversation, it was just okay, people are also having a hard time. It's okay if I'm having a bad day, but I know what I need to do. And that was just from other people's reflections, other people's questions. And I think that was massive from us to recognize that it is the contact with other people and feel like you're not alone on the journey. I think was a massive one for us this time round.
Yeah, I think the community element was something that right from, we have in previous Empowers, we've had community aspect, but we never drove it as much, or we didn't make it so clear or obvious that it was something that we felt was important. And I think we had a lot of conversations right from the beginning about the importance of introducing ourselves and being a part of it. The biggest thing for me that on reflection on this Empower, and I never really would have realized its impact, is actually images. And the image element of the community, and getting to see people's faces and knowing that there's a person behind the name, the email that's on the program, and seeing people's smiles, and seeing people's progress, and where they're going walking, and their dogs, or it just brings a real human part to what we do. And I think the more we understand the people that we're working with and know a little bit more about them, you feel a little bit more connected. And the other thing that I thought was very powerful was the workshops. The workshops felt very different because we had seen so many pictures of people and we'd seen their faces. And when they came on, it was hello straight away. It was almost like it felt a little bit safer, and that there was less barriers to having an open conversation. And I remember so many of the workshops where right at the very end, people were still just staying on. It was, people didn't want the conversations to end because it was a proper opportunity to catch up.
Yeah, no, the workshops were definitely a really important element as well. because it was discussions on the topics that came up that week, and it was an opportunity for us to add more value on top of the things that they were learning throughout the program. We've got the weekly topics that were released that provides the information, and then the workshops were set up to be more of a discussion based and add an extra layer of value around the specific topic for that phase. I think they really worked well this time for sure.
I really only have two kind of key questions left, and maybe three, but the first one I'll put to you, Eva, and that is, we changed the course content to a program or a course, and I was wondering how you feel that worked, how people work through the information.
Can you just say that question again, Daniel, because it just broke up for me?
So one of the things that we did for this Empower was we changed the content for Empower to a course or program format where people worked through it week by week. So we had their topics and we had our action plan, and we had great belief that this would be something that would be beneficial. But how do you feel the work on that? How do you feel like that went for people in this Empower?
I think it went really well, and I think even being able to see what was going to be in the next week and what was covered within the course kind of reassured people that all of this information would be covered and focus on what is really relevant right now. And by the end of the 8 weeks, everything that you need to know and every action that possibly that around fat loss will be covered, and you'll have the opportunity to do that. But even what we really emphasized was, if you're struggling with the week that you're on, there's no need to rush through it. There's going to be time, there's going to be space. Think about what's relevant to you right now, and even what's going on in your life, your work and everything else, and then take it in that phase by phase approach as you need to. But within the course, even under each topic, there was the information that was provided, there was really much action points at the end. So it wasn't just read it, oh yeah, that sounds good, I never thought about that before, but we made them think a little bit more. There was the action plan at the end, and is how do I actually put this information into my life? So I think that was massive. They came away with a lot more than just reading material. It was, now let's put that into action.
Super. I have two more questions, but the other one, Gemma, that I feel was something that really evolved, and it was definitely a component of previous programs, but it felt like this landed more for lots of different reasons. But that was the mindful approach to nutrition and the value of mindful practice for helping people to achieve more consistency and to deal with stress. What was the big thing that you felt was different about the use of that information and that workshop compared to other ones?
I think probably the timing of it. It arrived at a good time, where the group, we'd got to know them a bit better. Everyone was sharing more in the group, and those struggles were coming up. And I think a lot of people started to share their struggles a week before that workshop happened. So it felt like definitely a lot more comfortable to start the discussion within that whenever the workshop was on. But then it was just around everything that had been discussed before, that they've implemented all these actions, but there's still going to be times where the challenging, stressful times, busy periods, and the importance of being able to manage that comes from being a bit more mindful. And I suppose the actions that we had around that and the discussions that we had within that workshop really helped to connect with people, to feel like they had the tools to now manage those moving forward. So yeah, I think timing was definitely a big part of that, and our understanding as well of it.
Yeah, I think it's really come back into our practice and seeing how valuable that it was. I think it's come in as a core module for future programs. And I think you've said the timing of it and the openness of the group. I want to kind of bring this all to an end. And if there's something I've forgotten to ask or to talk about, let me know. But the last question that I have, and I'm going to start with you, Eva, on this, is we are nutritionists and we work in sport and we work with people in general health. And that's what we've qualified in, and that's what we spend a lot of time talking about. And people come to us for nutrition advice and guidance. And it might sound like a bit of a strange question, but when you break it down, how much do you think the success of people's fat loss and the results that we've seen in this Empower program is purely down to nutrition? If you were to put the percentages, how would you divide it up? I know, that's not an easy question, but I think it's an important one because that is my biggest learning.
Before I put percentages on them, I think the nutrition is obviously a big part of it, but it's what's influencing the decisions to actually choose those type of foods. So people could have all the knowledge in the world, but it's everything else that's going to make them make the decisions to do it or not.
Good start.
That's a
really good
hard
start.
one.
Better answer.
How about I leave it at that? No, I think it does have a big part of the puzzle, as in maybe 40%. But I think
I'm 42.
for maybe 45 in that they still have to they still have to be able to
Justify that.
justify it now. I think the rest is definitely down to all the other elements that we cover in the behavior, the mindset, the sleep, even how they feel about themselves, and what they're doing outside of, their structured day. That's going to have a massive influence on the choices that they make.
I know there's no right answer here, and I think it's a bit of crack, honestly. But I think what I'm trying to do, or what we're trying to do, is if we only focused on nutrition, if that was all we did, we just would not have the results that we did. That's just, for me, I think that's more evident than ever. Gemma, how would you answer the question?
She's going to say the opposite now.
Well, she's had an opportunity to hear what you said.
I heard the wrong answer first. I'd say we came at it with the approach that we do with most of our clients, is that it's system, process, and then the outcome after that. So the system is building everything that's influencing your nutrition habits, and that comes from how you set up your environment, the people that you have around you. And I think we gave a lot of space for that in the initial phase, in the baseline week, where we allowed people to recognize, okay, what's kind of influencing their decisions, building their vision, setting up what success actually looks for them, not just as an outcome at the end of the program, but on a weekly basis, what does good look like to you? So for that to happen, it broke it down into each of the pillars within their sleep, nutrition, mindset, recovery. So there was no, it was the nutrition components and the learning that came in the second phase. And I think that's part of the process of understanding. I think the education is a huge part of it. But yeah, I'm not putting percentages on either. But
you have to. You have to. Hoy did. And you had a chance to hear the wrong answer first.
Is that helpful for anyone?
You set me up. This is sabotage.
We did set you up because I knew this would be controversial. But you have to answer the question.
And you changed it to 40. No, changed it from 40 to 45.
You have to answer the question.
1%.
And
so
then
the question is
I will.
Percentage of nutrition specific.
No, we're talking about. So we've had an unbelievably successful Empower program, and we are nutritionists. People come to us for fat loss and they want guidance on nutrition. if we were to subjectively give a percentage to our energy invested in nutrition and people's energy invested in nutrition to get the kind of results that we've had, how would that look? Or what it's a really subjective question. And like I said, go back to it, like, it's not that there's no real objective answer here, but how would you answer it? How would you break down the answer? Come on.
If it was just a nutrition education program, then based on the feedback that we have, it's still a huge component in the learning of that comes back. But the majority is around how it's improved their overall life, and sleeps come up, recoveries come up, their even work-life balance. So I would say you're probably right away. I'd go back to probably 40. I don't know why you say 40.
Yeah,
I think it plays a huge part, and once you have a good understanding of nutrition, but you have to, that 60% is everything else, is all the other components.
that's all people are going to remember. But I think forcing people to think about that question and forcing us to think about that question brings out a really good answer, because what it does is it highlights the graph in terms of, if you're to look at a pie chart, how many things that you need to get right. So there's the education, there's the knowledge, there's the skills, and then there's the habit formation. And if it doesn't matter if you just have the knowledge if you're highly stressed and you're not capable of dealing with stress. So I think that it could be a completely different percentage with a different group. I think on an individual level, it could be 10% for somebody and 90% system and process for others. It's an individual answer. But I think what I feel, if I look at this program and I look at all of the information that's been provided, so if we think stress management, if I think the focus on exercise, like how much emphasis there was on exercise and the understanding of the value of exercise, the value of sleep, then we talked about nutrition, we talked about recovery. It could be somewhere between 30 and 40%, because it was so much energy and resources to show people how everything is connected within their lives, and they can't neglect one part. It is those pillars that need equal investment, and they will need different levels of investment at different times, depending on our lifestyle. But it was a fun question to finish up with. Did I forget anything? I've actually really enjoyed, and I think it's because of the energy that I have of the success. We're reading people's success stories now, and we've never read anything like them.
Not in that depth.
Not in that
We're going
depth.
to talk about that. We're going to talk about some of the
I
results.
think so. Yeah, let's lead it away there, Eva.
Get it up, Gemma.
I was like, am I missing?
Gemma is the default for every problem in this business. Gemma, can you please sort this out? Actually, that link is not working. Gemma, do you know how to copy that course? No, Gemma. I think that we can't leave the conversation without talking about some of the feedback. And I have no problem saying, I've said it to you as a team, it has definitely, I've been emotional reading the depth of thought and the depth of answer and how profoundly this has impacted people's lives. And that's what we set out to do. That's our whole purpose. So to see it come back, and I think just in terms of a key element, Gemma, has been the format in order to get that feedback. We've never had an Empower program finish so strongly with such high levels of engagement. And I think the format of it as well has been important. Should we mention the competitive element of it?
Yeah, I think that it was a big part of it. That, as in the phase winners that we had. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. yeah, I suppose how we decided who they were as well was important. The the fact we were able to collect that the type of data that we had, like the actions that they were doing each week, from their meal planning, their exercise planning, what that looked like and how that's progressed over time as well. We had some people come into the program, and I was actually just looking there that had or went from no resistance training to now 2 to 3 on average each week, and then their meal planning has improved. So that was the kind of things that we were looking at, and that's, I suppose, how we came to decide who won each phase of the program. And we had a little prize and recognised them on an individual level, showed their data, their progress, and why they were the winner for that phase. And then tonight we'll announce the overall winner, which goes down to not just, I suppose, the data that we collect, but it's the group engagement, how they supported everyone else in the group, on attendance on the live workshops, and progressing throughout the program itself through the topics, and we can see all of that. So yeah, that's exciting. But the feedback itself has been
Unreal.
insane to read, because everybody who's filled out this form, we did a final kind of reflection form for them to just provide some information on what their journey, their experiences look like, from their point of view, what has really changed for them, and how they will still continue to progress in this journey from what they've learned. And everyone that's filled out the form has put so much energy into it and thought, and it's not just it's not just a couple of words. It really is a lot. Some people have uploaded files to show their journey and the changes that they've made in different ways, so they've got creative with it as well. So it's so cool to see.
Any highlights for either of you, Eva or Gemma?
I think for a lot of people, it was like, despite anything that was.
The way people are describing their journey, and that, I think Eva said it before, that this whole, you come into this, it's a fat loss program, but the fact that it's become a byproduct of the actions that people are taking, and the being able to read and hear the way people are describing their experience has been eye-opening, and is probably, I always believed in the process, but when you can hear someone else's perspective from it, it really solidifies, like, what we're doing is good stuff.
Is the sun shining over there for you in Bournemouth, Gemma?
Yes, I've moved 3 times, and so
I thought we talked about this, you being the Virgin Mary and the light coming down over your face. Eva, you were rudely cut across there.
I know. I'm used to it.
Highlights for you, Eva?
I think it was like, despite all the things that life was thrown at people, that they were still able to feel like this was something that was kind of ingrained with them, and they were still able to progress, and seeing the results of that made them feel like the challenges weren't as tough, because they felt like this was just their core values. For other people, it was recognizing again who they were. Maybe in the past they were an athlete, now they're a mum, and people have identified them as a certain person, as getting them to really think about who they are and who they want to become. So that was unbelievable to be able to see that transformation within them. And a conversation that I had this week, it was like, what would the athlete do? And that was the thing that really progressed her along, rather than what would the mum of 5 kids do that maybe shouldn't be able to do. So I thought that was one of the things that really stuck with me, and I thought it was amazing. Other than that, it was like how it impacted their whole family. So everybody in the household is seeing the benefits of improved energy. People aren't as ratty with each other, and that's how they're going to keep themselves accountable, because everybody was brought in on the process and really enjoying that.
Gemma, have you noticed how Eva is really good at stealing the moment? Have you noticed that? I've seen this pattern. Like, come out, like, did you actually write that down? Like, is that like, what would the athlete do? You weren't your arse. That just popped into your head there right now, and you thought it'd be cool to say. No, I believe you. No, I actually do believe you. I don't think you could make that up. That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable to be able to draw on something like that. But we can't let you have the last word there. That's really good. That's really good. Maybe we will. What would the athlete do? What would the mum do? What would the dad too do? I think the emphasis there on identity has. I think that's a really good place to wrap this up as a conversation, because that has been a theme. You know, who are you now? Who do you want to be? And what are the steps going to be to get you there? And I have loved the amount of times people have talked about the tools that they're going to continue to use. And that's what this whole program, that's what it was built for. And just to see that it, in effect, has just raised our whole belief in how we can help more people. So to the Empower members that have gone through this phase, and the previous Empower members, we couldn't be where we are now in delivering a program like this with this confidence without each person that has gone through it and given us feedback. So thank you. And I always take a moment to thank the team, because they're brilliant. I know they're brilliant, and they know they're brilliant. They're always on about it. I know they're not. They're very grounded. Yeah. Thank you. That was great. I really enjoyed it. And we'll do it again. We'll do it again after